Hi, everyone. I would like to start, explaining the end of this presentation. Basically, we will try to introduce the new Cloud and Edge working group in the European Alliance for Industry Data, Cloud and Edge. And invite you all, of course, to join this initiative. My name is Ignacio Llorente. I'm the CEO of Open Nebula Systems. That is the company behind the Open Nebula open source cloud and edge management platform. And since 2 months ago, 3 to 3 months ago, I am also the chair of the working group on cloud and edge computing of the European Alliance for Industry Data, Cloud and Edge. Well, before I start, I would like to give you a very brief introduction about what we are going to talk about in the next 20-25 minutes. So let's start. Well, I think that in this venue, I think you are very well aware of the strategic importance of cloud and edge computing for the European industry and the public sector. We all know right now that cloud edge computing is an enabler technology that is required in order to, for example, develop data-driven innovation, for digital transformation, for creation of new added value products and services, and of course to uptake, efficient and effective uptake of other innovative technologies like artificial intelligence, IoT, etc. I think in this venue, we know perfectly about this. Okay, and here you have two very interesting figures about the market of the use or the adoption of cloud in Europe from Eurostat. The first one is that the 41% of enterprises in the European Union use the cloud. That is good. It's growing 5% annually, and 73% of them are highly dependent on cloud, which is good because we think that cloud computing is enabling technology, is flexible, saves energy, saves costs, okay? But we have a very big strategic problem here. Why? Because you know that EU is heavily dependent on non-European service providers. That is a very big problem. If you see, for example, this graph, you will see that since 2017, the market has grown more than threefold. In Europe, that is good. For example, you can see that this growth has been over 23 billion for 2020. Okay, but you see the market share of the European providers has declined from 26% in 2017 to 16% in 2021. This is a very big problem. Okay, and you see that the three big hyperscalers, the three big techs, which are Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they are around here in this event, hold 66% of the market share. And the biggest European provider accounts only for 2% of the market share. Okay, this is a very big problem. You see, market is growing, but the share of European providers in this market, the European market, is declining. Okay, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to reverse this trend. And this presentation is about that specific opportunity that is provided by edge computing. So edge computing is a paradigm change from centralized to distributed that represents an opportunity. So we will talk about that now. And we will talk as well about the different actions that the European Commission is undertaking in order to take advantage of this opportunity. Of course, the final aim of this presentation is to introduce this European Alliance for Industrial Data, Cloud and Edge, and the role of this alliance in all these actions that are being undertaken by the European Commission. What we are doing in the context of this alliance to help, European Commission, to help member states, to help industry in order to reverse this trend, and in 2030 be able to have a market where the market share of the European providers grows year by year. This is the final aim. Well, let's start with the edge computing opportunity. I think that, I am not going to explain what edge computing is because you perfectly know. It's about the execution of services, applications, as close as possible to the end users, to the devices. And that edge computing is bringing many new opportunities. Edge computing is disrupting, many business models, because we know that edge computing provides many benefits. You have some of them here. You know that you can deploy very low latency applications, you can improve user experience, you can have service availability, you can reduce data transfers, you can reduce energy consumptions, you can minimize vendor dependency, and one thing that is extremely important, edge computing is a new market. That is a key point here in this discussion for the coming years. So that means that with edge computing, you can create a new ecosystem of new infrastructure providers. So that's the reason why it can be a disruption in the existing structure of the market and can change, the rules of the game. Well, those of us that have been around for many years, we know, edge computing as a distributed computing paradigm. This is like a returning to back to the future. All these computing trends started with, mainframe centralized model. Then we go to the 80s and 90s with the distributed client server. Then the mobile cloud brought back to a centralized model. Okay, and now, believe it or not, we come back to a distributed cloud. Good. However, the important thing here is not this change in the trend. Is that in each change, when we move to a new trend, the uptake of users grows one order of magnitude. For example, when we started with mainframes, there were about, in the base case scenario, about 1,000 users, 10 mini computers, about 1 million users, 10 million mini computers, personal computers, 100 million, then desktop internet, about 1,000 million users or units. Then we are more or less now mobile internet with 10,000 million units, and it's expected that by 2025 we will have like 100 billion devices for IoT. This is very important. This is critical because you need all the underlying edge computing infrastructure in order to process, in order to enable, this IoT. And it's not about cloud or about edge. It's about how to combine both, because corporate users require services from both paradigms. So the idea is not that edge competes with cloud. They should be used, in a combined way. And this is the concept behind the edge to cloud continuum. And this is a very, very strong concept, because what we want to achieve is to provide an infrastructure that offers the services required by corporate users in order to build their applications, and very important, in a vendor-neutral way. Well, as we know, and we said in a previous slide, edge computing is not new. I mean, it started like 10 years ago. The terms of cloudlet, the terms about fog computing, but it's true that now edge computing has made it to mainstream, media. And you see that now edge computing has a tremendous momentum with a huge market potential. For example, maybe you're aware of that, but there is a study by the Linux Foundation about the state of edge computing, and this study, market study, predicts a market of 800 billion by 2028. You see in the news that the first commercial deployments are started, to work. These commercial deployments basically are hyperscalers in collaboration with telco companies. You've seen news about Google or about Amazon, partnerships where AT&T, Verizon, Telecom, Telefonica. So they are, trying to extend, their cloud offering to the edge by using the 5G deployments of the telco providers. And for me and for us, this is a very big problem. This is a very big risk, because edge computing is a new market, and we have to avoid, replicating in the market the same structure, the same oligopoly that we have in the cloud computing market. Good. So this is about the edge computing opportunity. Now let's evaluate what the European Commission is doing. I think that this story started like 3 years ago in July 2019, when the European Commission, led by Ursula von der Leyen, President Ursula von der Leyen, identified edge computing as one of the strategic agenda items. Since then, I think that we as a continent, as a union, we have become aware of how important it is to invest in technologies, but not only to get this data sovereignty, but as well to have technology sovereignty. That is quite important as well. So that we do not depend on external providers, services, infrastructure, and technology. That is extremely important. So this slide summarizes here the 5 main actions undertaken by the European Commission related to cloud and edge. The first one is the European Strategy for Data. The second one is the Recovery and Resilience Facility. The third one is the joint member states declaration about next generation cloud computing. We have the digital decade strategy, and then the updated EU industrial strategy. So let's go through each of these. I would like to explain very briefly each of these actions, mostly from the perspective of the relevance for its cloud computing technology, and also the relation of these actions to the new European Alliance for Industry, Data, Cloud, and Edge. Well, first let's start with the European Strategy for Data. This document, this was published in February 2020, okay, and this document defined a single market for data to ensure Europe's global competitiveness and data sovereignty. So the document includes very interesting figures, for example, about the growth of the data, but I think that one of the most important, data or information figures included by this study is this change in the processing of the data. So this document established that right now 80% of data is processed, on centralized cloud centers, cloud sites, and the idea is that in 7 years this will change, and the 80% of data will be processed on the edge. This is quite important. I think this is key, because this means a change, an important change in paradigm, and this means a very important opportunity, because the edge computing market is a blue ocean, it's completely new. Okay, so I think that this is one of the most important, I would say, information of this presentation. This change, in the training processing, and also this document states that the cloud and edge technologies are becoming critical infrastructure and constitute a priority area. In the context of the European Strategy for Data, the European Commission expects to invest between 4 and 6 billion, European billions here, okay, in common European data spaces and the European Federation of Cloud Infrastructure and Services. Okay, 3 months later, in May 2020, the European Commission published the Recovery and Resilience Facility instrument that was created in order to help the EU emerge stronger and more resilient from the COVID crisis. If you see this document, this instrument, it established 6 main pillars, and one of them is digital transformation. Okay, and the Scale-up flagship area states that the EU digital transition depends on increasing European industrial data cloud capabilities. Again, we have here a mention to cloud and edge computing, and in this RRF budget, it's estimated that 20% of this budget, that is 700 billion budget, will be support digital transformation projects. 5 months later, in October 2020, the 27 EU member states signed the joint declaration on next generation cloud. In this document, all these documents are available online, of course, the EU established that the EU has a unique opportunity to address the need for more data sharing and decentralized data processing closer to the end user. And the 27 signatories agreed on combining private, public, investment, national European investment, in order to deploy competitive, green, secure cloud infrastructure and services, to define a common European approach on federating cloud capabilities, and driving the take-up of more secure, interoperable, energy-efficient data centers and cloud services. One thing that is quite interesting, that in this document there is a explicit reference to the European Alliance. It states that an European Alliance will be launched to deploy next-generation cloud capabilities for the public and private sector. 5 months later, in March 2021, the European Commission presented its vision for Europe's digital transformation by 2030 and proposed specific targets that they want to achieve, okay, in the next decade, by 2030. This is like a compass, cardinal points, and it established 4 cardinal points. As I remember, those are the skills, the infrastructure, government, and industry. And there are 2 specific targets here that are quite relevant for cloud and edge. One of those is the 10,000 climate neutral highly secure edge nodes that should be deployed by 2030. Okay, that is a very important target. Okay, and the second one is the 75% uptake. Okay, right now, remember, only 40% of the companies in the European Union use the cloud. The idea is in 10 years to achieve this 75%. Good. And also in this document, there is a explicit mention to the Alliance basically says that Europe needs to strengthen its own cloud infrastructure and capabilities, and the alliance will contribute to this objective. And 2 months later, in May 2021, the Commission published an update of the 2020 New Industrial Strategy. Okay. This is a very important document, and it includes information about the vulnerabilities and the opportunities of the European Union for the cloud and edge market. Here you have a summary of the main vulnerabilities. The first one is that use of cloud in Europe is rising very, very slowly. So it was 36%, okay, in 2020, okay, and mostly is for very basic services as email and storage of files. Another big problem we have is that it's very difficult, it's hard to compete with the big tech, with the big vendors, with the hyperscalers. Okay, so the small companies are unable to compete with them. The third one is the investment gap. This is quite important. You see, 11 billion euros is the difference between the investment in the European Union and the investment in China or the US in cloud and edge. This important gap here. And the concerns of European users. Basically, according to different surveys, they do not adopt cloud computing because they have concerns related to data protection, cybersecurity, and applicable laws. Those are the 4 main vulnerabilities, and the document also establishes opportunities. The first one is the opportunity we just mentioned. This is the edge computing. Okay? There is a change in the paradigm. 80% of data will be processed on the edge, distributed model. So this is a very big opportunity for new companies, because remember that edge computing is a new market and there is no dominant market players right now in the edge computing field. Okay, that's important. Another important thing is that in Europe we are very strong on in IoT, 5G networks, and telco cloud solutions. This is another big opportunity. This document also brings another specific mention to the alliance. It established that this alliance will be creative and will help in addressing this trend toward increasing decentralization of prophecy. Well, I would also like to just explain these 5 European actions, but I would also like to explain the IPCI on cloud infrastructure services, because this is the main, it may be the main outcome of these 5 actions. Okay, so this mostly this is a result of the RRF instrument, the Recovery and Resilience facility, and also is a result of the joint declaration of the next generation cloud computing. The IPCI Cloud Infrastructure Services, is an important project of common European interest, and it's a project that is now being evaluated by the European Commission. But this is a result of this. Good. And now let's go to the main part of this presentation, that is the European Alliance for Industrial Data Edge and Cloud. Well, this is more or less the timeline of this alliance. As we explained in the previous slides, all started in February 2020, because this alliance builds on the European data strategy. This alliance was endorsed by this joint declaration by the member states, this joint declaration about the next generation cloud. Okay, then it was announced as part of this update of the European industrial strategy. Okay, 2 days later, in May 2021, you see that 27 companies prepare a fresh roadmap about the next generation cloud and edge offering. Okay, this alliance was launched in July 2021. We have our first, or the kickoff meeting. It was a CEO kickoff meeting with Commissioner Breton in December, 14th of December, and 2 days later we have our first working session. So this is more or less the timeline. You know that this European data strategy, this joint declaration, and this update of the European industrial strategy are the ones that I had described before in my slides. What is the aim? Okay, what we are supposed to do in the context of this alliance? Well, in the context of this alliance, our main aim is to define enabling technologies for the next generation edge to cloud continuum. So you see that edge is a big opportunity, that's for sure. We want to reverse the market trend. So we had to define which specific technologies we have to develop. So this is about defining roadmap, or defining investment roadmap, business roadmap, technology roadmaps, in order to define what we had to do, okay, in order to reverse this market trend. So about who is part or who participate in this alliance. This is alliance with business, this is industrial alliance, companies, member state representatives and relevant experts. And the aim is mostly to assist the European Commission in designing the detailed business, investment and implementation plan to deploy the next generation cloud capabilities. So the idea is that our targets are to achieve these 2030 targets related to cloud and edge computing. Those targets I just presented about the uptake of the cloud technology and about the number of edge nodes expected by 2030. How? I mean, the idea of what we do in the context of the alliance, you will see now that this alliance has a strong technology focus, is to foster the development and deployment of next generation of secure, low-carbon, interoperable cloud and edge services and infrastructure. About the task, well, basically we provide recommendations and facilitate collaboration and discussions. So you see in this bullet what we do, we are planning to do. The first one is to provide recommendations. By recommendations, we mean development of use cases, development of strategic technology and investment roadmaps, market analysis, value chain gaps. Okay, the idea is to enable next generation edge and cloud. It's also a platform to exchange on issues on cloud governance, mostly about public procurement of cloud services. The idea is as well to create synergies with common European data spaces from the perspective of cloud and edge as enabling technology for these common European data spaces, and also it's a platform to facilitate matchmaking opportunities for business. About the objectives, main objective is to achieve technology leadership and sovereignty. Basically, you have here our three main objectives in the long term. That is, strengthen the position of the European industry on next generation cloud and edge technologies, to increase the leadership of position of industrial data, okay, as well in the European industry, and also to serve as a consultation platform for the definition of the new European cloud rulebook. We have a strong technology focus. This is quite important, okay, and we want to achieve technology leadership in three main trends. The first one is increased distribution and decentralization of data processing. This is this edge cloud continuum concept. Okay? We think this is critical for the future of the market. The second one is to promote an alternative European model to the offerings of cloud hyperscalers. Okay? So because you know that the main objective is to reverse this trend and to start increasing, the market share of European players in the European cloud market, and always following, the European values in terms of data protection, security, climate neutrality, resource efficiency, interoperability, and portability. If you want more details, I mean, we are focusing on 8 main technology challenges. Okay, you have a summary here. The first one is more related to deployment of edge and cloud computing across the EU. Okay, and the deployment should be highly secure and energy efficient. And we talk about cloud and edge, we talk about all the levels of resources, from the local or on-prem data center, to the cloud edge providers, and also far near edge and far edge and IoT. That's the idea. Second challenge is to develop a European sovereign cloud stack that enables, complete interoperability and portability. So we have many different providers, and the idea is to enable that interoperability and portability across multiple providers. You know that the main challenge is not interoperability. Usually the main challenge is portability of the workload. Open source multi-cloud, the idea is to develop a framework, open source framework that enables seamless integration of heterogeneous cloud of different providers. Then we also are addressing the highly distributed intelligence. Okay, this is embedding, self-healing, self-management of large scale. That is quite important as well. The other 4 challenges are the optimal workload management to enable orchestration of the continuum, cloud and edge security solution. This is to ensure trust in the management of sensitive personal, highly sensitive public sector and business data. Definition of solution for smart procurement. This is about enhancing digitization of public authorities and the government. And last but not least, green and sustainable solutions, climate neutral, highly efficient and sustainable edge solutions. So this is the technology challenges, because you know that this alliance has a very strong technology focus. Well, about the structure, the work is facilitated by DG Connect, okay, and the operational work is driven by the steering committee, and right now the working groups internally organized in task forces. Okay, about the working groups, right now we have a working group about Edge and Cloud Continuum working group, one about defense and aeronautics, and other about member state cooperations. The Edge and Cloud and defense and aeronautics are driven by industry. Okay, we have 44 members so far, and the other about member state cooperation, of course, driven by the member states. Okay. Giving you more details now about the specifics of the Edge and Cloud working group. We are 40 industrial members, okay, right now, representing, you see here, European, of course, cloud providers, telco operators, technology providers, and services. Okay, these are the 40 members that are now part of this working group. This is how we organize. Okay, I am now chairing this working group. We have two co-chairs. We have Mark Wenner, that is here, yes, from SAP, and we have Jean-Philippe de France from Capgemini. Okay, and also internally we have 10 task forces. Okay, we have one task force that is about its computing landscape. This is about evaluation of the current, landscape in the European Union, about the standards, open source initiative, this type of things. We have another task force that is more related to the definition of sovereignty, technical sovereignty, what technical sovereignty means for Edge and Cloud. This is an important one. Then we have three that are transversal. The first one is about climate, energy efficiency. The second one is more about security. And the third one is both about interoperability or multi-provider. Okay. Then we have three about technology foundations, bottom up. You have the edge and data center infrastructure, network and integration interconnectivity, and cloud and edge foundation infrastructure. And then we have two task forces, okay, that are more sector specific: infrastructure services, platform services, and application and data services. About our current work, now we are preparing an updated version of the roadmap that was published last year in May 2021. Okay, we are working to have a new version of this roadmap and release this by, I guess, October, November, after, in autumn. The idea of this roadmap is to provide recommendations for the main three Horizon Europe programs. Okay, you have the Horizon Europe program that is more long-term research. You have the Digital Europe that is more deployment of digital services, and you have the Connecting Europe facility that is more about the deployment of digital infrastructure. So the idea is to prepare this roadmap, and this roadmap will provide recommendations for these programs. And this is quite important, because I think that all of us can participate here and can provide feedback. So because if you provide feedback and participate here, I mean, that means that your recommendations are about the future, okay, the Edge and Cloud, about how we can reverse this trend, and how we can, again, have a strong, European cloud industry that grows in the market. So my last slide is about an invitation. Okay, you can join this alliance. You can be part of these task forces. So that means that you will contribute to this roadmap, to these use cases, and this basically means that your recommendations will be considered in the preparation of the new programs, the new goals by the European Commission, because the idea of the European Commission is to address these needs in order to reverse the trend in the market. Good. So you have here the URL. So thank you very much. I will be around. You have questions. I don't know what time now. And I would like to thank all the companies that are now working in the working group. I mean, they are doing a great job participating in this new roadmap, and I hope that you are interested in joining us. So thank you very much.